What if proof of alien life was real and we were made to forget? For decades, strange lights in the sky, vanished time, and government cover-ups have haunted our collective memory. Inspired by the chilling world of the X-Files, today we ask the questions: have we already made contact? Has the truth been hidden in plain sight? These tarot questions will dive into the evidence we've overlooked, the encounters we've suppressed, and the force behind the veil. Let us open the case file and see what's still out there. Hello everyone, welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time on my channel. Today we are going to do episode 2 of our Strange Things Inspired series. We're going to hop right in with Oracle, since Oracle does not read my mind and starts things out with a great story. So, question 1. What cracks in our reality hint at another world beneath this one? And when they're talking about cracks, it's kind of like unexplainable glitches, things that you see that you just don't get. Deja vu, shadows in the corners of your eye kind of thing, movement, peripheral vision. Kind of give an idea of what's maybe popping through the cracks in our reality. Okay, we have Guardians of the Galaxy. I think this is saying that the things that you're seeing, if you're seeing things peripherally from the side, if you're seeing shadow figures, or even while you're sleeping at night, or you happen to wake up and you think you see a shadow there, I think this is saying that they are not fake. You are actually seeing what you think you're seeing. Then we have Field of Dreams. Yeah, this movie is about Kevin Costner and baseball player ghosts. Okay, so I'm going to take this as if you're seeing not just shadowy figures or unusual looking figures. In other words, not all of these in Guardians of the Galaxy are human. Okay, so if you're seeing images or shadows or something of what you would term non-human, then that's probably what you're seeing. There's another world beneath this one, and probably many more out there. And they happen to be breaking through somehow, or able to find a portal in. In the Field of Dreams, these are human baseball players. So I'm going to say occasionally we also have human-looking beings that come through somehow into our world from another world. They can look a lot like us. And this could also be indicative of beyond the veil, past loved ones even. And then we have mother and child reunion. And I'm going to take this one as it isn't always just what we see. It might be what we feel. So if all of a sudden we have like a really warm feeling, kind of like mother and child reunion, okay? If you've had a good relationship with your mother, it's a really warm feeling and a feeling of being loved. That can be a part of your experience too, to let you know that somebody has come from either beyond the veil or another reality. It's also possible that you can have feelings that aren't always that comforting, maybe goosebumps or the hair raising up on the back of your neck, that kind of thing, to let you know that, ooh, something just isn't quite as you think it should be. That's kind of an indication too that something is with you that you didn't expect, or someone. Okay. We have Die Hard. Occasionally you might be given, let's say, a vision. You're sitting by yourself in your room or somewhere in your home. You're sitting by yourself and all of a sudden your imagination goes off the rails. Maybe you're seeing something similar to this tower exploding that you see from the movie Die Hard. Maybe you are experiencing just maybe an image of somebody who is trying to show you what their world looks like beyond ours. Whatever that imagery is, it is stuck in your head. Once you see it, it's kind of stuck in your head, thus the Die Hard. It's like you can't not see it. So let us keep going here. The Pursuit of Happiness. Birdman of Alcatraz. And Cheaper by the Dozen. Most of the time I feel like when one of these beings starts coming through, they're looking for something specific. Maybe it is happiness. Maybe it is a little more adventure in their life. Maybe they just need to experience someplace different. But they're looking for something specific. Not just happiness, although that can be one of the things, but they are looking for something because, like with Birdman of Alcatraz, they are either so bored with their world, their galaxy, their alternate reality, and they maybe feel a little imprisoned and would like to be able to get out. Cheaper by the Dozen just tells me that there are many, many, many who visit pretty much on a regular basis. Not necessarily all the same people. In other words, you might have a specific reality that you might have a dozen people come, and then there'll be another reality somewhere or another galaxy, something like that, where they just keep coming. So there are many who visit in this way. It's just we're not always totally aware of what's going on around us. So let's take a look at tarot here, and these are going to be very big, but we're going to work with them because it is a Stranger Things deck. Thought that was quite appropriate. All right, so let us see what tarot has to give for extra information here. All right, these are a little thicker cards, so if you see me struggling to get them apart, there we go. They're very sticky. Okay, so we have the Lovers here with Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Lovers is a union card, a choice card. So these Guardians, or these Guardians of the Galaxy, these different beings, they have a choice as to where they can go. They're not just stuck coming through into our reality. They can go a lot of different places, thus the galaxy. So sometimes it's just their choice to visit our reality and to realize that, hey, there's people here. So if you see them, that's why. And then we have the Four of Cups, or Four of Spokes, as this says. Not all human spirits come through. Some of them turn their back on coming back to visit, like in Field of Dreams. They usually have to have a specific reason to come back, and maybe just for a visit for a moment, but others just never do that. They just don't feel the need. So if you are seeing ghostly figures from beyond the veil. Those are the ones who have actually chosen to do so. And then we have the sun. Yeah, this is about warmth. You can figure that if you are having happy emotions or feeling warm or sometimes really hot or having a vision of some sort, there's somebody coming through specifically that wants you to experience something from them. So they're giving off waves of, I don't know, would you call it frequency? No, not frequency. They're giving off waves of some sort to you. And the word's like on the tip of my tongue. I can't quite get it though. So that they can let you know that they're there. They came to visit. Why would they want to do it in complete quiet and silence and not have anybody know? And then we have the Seven of Swords. Yeah, you never know what vision you're going to get from these beings. It could be scary. It could be beautiful. It just depends. If they're sharing something about their world and their world is not the greatest of places, it could be scary. It could be scary for you. But then they might live in a really beautiful place too. So it just depends. You never know what you're going to get for visions if you're one of those who is open to visions. And then we have the King of Swords. Yeah, they want, a lot of these people, they're looking for camaraderie also. Somebody different to talk to. So maybe they, come into our world just to say hello, just to have somebody different to say hello to, somebody to compare notes with. They're looking for an adventure that allows them to communicate with other beings. The Two of Scoops or Two of Pentacles. Yeah, these people, they like to go. They really do. But they have to decide. There's a decision involved as to whether this is good for them to do or not good for them to do. Or is it good for them to do with you or not? They never know how somebody is going to react if they show themselves. Sometimes people get pretty freaked out over shadows, peripheral shadows. So they don't know what they're going to come into. So it's always a decision for them. The High Priestess. Yeah, with cheaper by the dozen. There's a lot of secrets, a lot of things that need to remain secret. But there are things that these people, these beings, can share with us. But then they may prefer not to be seen at all and just to be a vision that you have, or just to be kind of like a shadowy figure that you're not sure that you saw. There's a lot of different ways that they can come through and share with us, but they don't ever really have to let us know that they're there. So that is the first question here. If you're new to my channel, you're going to see that I kind of have a little bit slower way of putting my cards back and getting ready for the second question. And this is because these are hard enough to shuffle. They don't shuffle well, but this is also to make sure that they stay mixed, well mixed. So in case I get repeat cards, I know that I have them because they're meant to be there and not because I couldn't shuffle very well. And I do the same things with the Oracle. I just grab at random, throw them in a pile, whatever pile. It doesn't have to be the pile they came from. And this way, again, if we get repeat cards, It's because we're supposed to have them. All right, so now we can move on to question 2, which is, if I can get these to stay, there we go. Question 2, what force keeps the 2 dimensions separated most of the time? And they're saying 2 dimensions, but as we've already determined, there's many. What force keeps them separated most of the time? Why don't we see, beings from other dimensions all the time? We have Tarzan and his mate. I think one of the reasons that we don't see beings all the time is because they don't know what they're coming into. So it could be a very dangerous situation for them. They could end up in a jungle and have to defend themselves from apes or lions or something like that. I think it has to be a very strategic plan if they're going to come through. Might be more to that, but there's the Birdman of Alcatraz again. It is very possible that since we are talking about some kind of force that keeps things closed, maybe there is a barrier of some sort, because you could look at these animals as ones to defend whatever the veil is or the barrier, whatever it is. They could be defending that and making sure that nobody can pass through. And this is like a card to say, yeah, there's a barrier for sure. Because we see bars, we see jail. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible to get through. These birds can obviously fit through the bars. iRobot. I really think that these, excuse me, I really think that these beings maybe send AI or something else through, a bird, something, before they come through themselves. That is my guess. And just to see if it's even possible. I feel like maybe they build beings that aren't sentient and have them go through transformation. Yeah, because there's something that happens or can happen in passing through this barrier, whatever this barrier is. Maybe a person has to be a certain way before they're allowed to pass through. Interesting. Let's keep going. We have Sister Act. I've Never Been to Me. And Pleasantville. Yeah, all 3 of these cards here kind of give me the idea that these beings aren't really going to be able to tell you exactly where they're from. They're going to have to dress differently. If they're coming in for any length of time, which I don't see is an impossibility, They're going to have to dress a certain way to fit in with us. They're going to have to perhaps take on a different face completely to come in as they're supposed to. And if you've ever seen the movie Pleasantville, it starts out in black and white and then everything goes color. So perhaps color here on Earth is different than it is in other realities or the world beneath this one. If you remember correctly from Stranger Things, that world is dark and it's kind of gray and gloomy, and black and gooey, and yeah, it doesn't have a lot of color. So I feel like they have to maybe figure out how to work with the color in our world. Yeah, it's a total transformation if they want to come through. So maybe there's somebody standing at the gate, so to speak, standing at the barrier, saying, since this is an AI related movie, the iRobot, I feel like they have somebody standing, or many somebodies standing at this barrier, making sure that if somebody is coming in, they're following these 3 rules, where they dress the part, they look the part, and they are the right color. They're not green in the face. That's providing they want to come, I think, for any length of time. So let's see what Tarot has to share. Okay. Sorry for the fighting with the deck, but all right. So we have the 9 of Swords. Yeah, this is kind of maybe it's a little bit of a deterrent with this Tarzan and the mate, because they don't know what they're going into or what could somehow come through. There has to be a barrier here. And they did this, whoever they are, due to a lot of worry and anxiety happening, because maybe somebody saw a tear and poked their head through and was just terrified by what they saw. So to allay the anxiety, they put up a barrier. And we have the Lovers again, the choice card. The barrier was a choice. And it is, as we saw, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Field of Dreams. They are all from different places. Cheaper by the dozen. We saw that there were many, many people that come on a regular basis. And I feel like they all have to pass through this same barrier. That's kind of my feeling. They have a choice to go through this barrier. I don't know if there's another one for them to go through. I don't. And then we have the 7 of Pentacles. Yeah, these robots or beings, whoever that they've put in charge of the gate, they just wait there very patiently. They just wait for whoever may want to come through and use that specific gate. We're going to call it a gate. Use the specific gate so that they can make sure that they are following what needs to be done, because really they don't want to create more fear and anxiety. Some of these people just want to try something new. And then we have Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, they're going to have to, and this isn't just coming to Earth. This is happening going wherever, to whatever planet, to wherever they know of that they would like to visit. They have to change. They have to transform. Kind of like this ego here shows different people in different squares. They have to choose the image that they're going to be and transform into that for whatever area they are going to. This force, or this barrier, and these guards, we'll call them, make sure that that's how it's working. So what force keeps the dimensions separated? We're talking a force of beings or robots. And then we have Ace of Pentacles with Sister Act. Yeah, they can look like they can change into whoever they need to change into. It's unlimited. There's so many worlds and alternate realities and so forth out there. They just need to change. Page of Pentacles with I've Never Been to Me. Yeah, the image that, or the person that they become or need to become, is going to be very new to them. They have to be able to adapt to the change. And then we have the Eight of Pentacles. And the Eight of Pentacles is just saying it's something that they have to work at if they want to travel in this way. It's something they have to work at and really put some effort into. Sometimes the first time they don't get it all right. I don't know if they have to, if there's somebody here at the barrier that says, or these guards that say, that's not going to work in this place that you want to go. They have to work at it. And it isn't just a black and white situation. They need to be right on point, right on color, if they're going to stay or even walk around for a little while here. All right, so let's get this picked up and see what more we've got. And again, if you're new to my channel, you may be hearing some very strange sounds. Anybody who's on my channel knows exactly what I'm going to say. But I have a Chihuahua who lays in my room with me while I'm doing my videos, and he's such a good boy. But his contribution to you is his snoring. So that is what you are going to hear probably a little bit, if not a lot, in many of my videos, if not all of them. So just so that you're aware that those strange noises belong to him. All right, so let's pick these up and get on to question 3. They're so slippery, they just want to slide all over. Gotta straighten them out just to keep them in one place. All right, so question 3. What happens when the boundaries between dimensions grows thin? In other words, well, we're going to go a little differently here. It's when a lot of people are coming through and we're not noticing. Does that mean that something's wrong with that barrier? Or we are noticing because something's not right with people that we see. So we have guidance. Okay, I don't think it's possible for anybody to come through unnoticed. It's kind of like the light is shown on them somehow, and I'm not saying everybody can see it, but I'm saying some can see, no matter what. They just have an ability to them. And we also have guides and angels and things like that that might need us to notice certain things and will shine the light for us. So let us see what more goes into this one. Demolition Man. Oop. I think the only reason that a light would be shown is if the being that's coming through is not a good one. In other words, they have ill intent. They want to hurt someone or all of us or something like that, or any reality, anywhere, wherever they go. I think there is a team that is on the alert at all times, just in case. I mean, they're not going to be able to stop people from traveling. The barrier helps. They're not going to be able to stop people from traveling, but if people are going to go through, they've got the guards at the gate to make sure that they're, dressed properly and whatever, but they also need someone to, or a group of someones to make sure that wherever these people are going, they do not have ill intent. So let's see. The Twilight Zone. Yeah, these are the ones who are able to see what's real and what isn't. So in other words, if somebody is all dressed just perfectly and they have the greatest of attitudes and they seem just fine with where they plan on going, these beings can tell before they really ever get into the world that they want to go into or the alternate reality they want to go into. They can be seen. And gosh, what they do with that information, let's see if it shares with us. But yeah, they're the ones who are able to really see. And there might even be people here, as a for instance, here on Earth, that's their calling. They might not know that it's their calling, but they might be able to see things that other people can't, and somehow send a message to somebody that can do something about it. And there we have the Birdman of Alcatraz again. So it is that barrier. Yeah, this group of people, I think that they actually examine in their own way the people. And again, they have the right clothing, they have the right faces, they have the right way of speaking. They know how to deal with the place that they're going. They know how to blend in. I guess that's maybe what I'm trying to say. They know how to blend in. But there's another thing that they have to go through, or test or something. They have to go through this group of people who can shine the light on the ones who are not doing what they're doing for the reason they say they're doing it. They're not being real. They are a little mind twisted, I guess you could say. And they're the one, they keep them from going through the barrier. So we have Bound. We have Steel Magnolias. And we have Dr. X. Yeah, I really think that, if they come across ones like this, if this group comes across ones like this, they're bound and taken away. All they want are people who can mesh together, who can be good to one another. And those who can't, well, they have a special doctor for them. They have a special doctor for them. They don't want to have to deal with this over and over and over again. So they have to do something. And whoever they are, guidance can be, again, spirit guides, angels, guardians of the galaxy, okay? Specific ones that are called to do this. And they make sure that these people get the help that they need, because we don't need a war between worlds, so to speak. Okay, so again, Stranger Things Tarot. This really isn't as scary as Stranger Things, is it? through the cards. It's not saying it's impossible. I'm sure that there's probably scary places to go, but most, I don't think, really want to go to those scary places. Could be wrong, but all right. So we have strength. Yeah, these people don't miss anything. They're very strong. And, you know, with the iRobot group that defends this barrier, they're the strength. People don't slip through. Then we have the Three of Swords. Yeah, if you remember, Three of Swords is, for most people, is a betrayal card. And there are people or beings from many different places that, you know, the age-old story is they want to come and invade our planet and take all of our resources. Maybe they're a scout. Maybe they come and they take a bunch, because I don't know if they can take anything back through the barrier. We haven't come into that yet. But there are definitely those who would betray wherever they're going if they could. The Hanged Man. So I think these beings, they look very closely at these beings that want to go through. These people, these beings that want to go through. They look at them very closely, and they consider all the different possibilities of what they might be doing, why they're acting the way they're acting, and so forth. But these beings know a lot about these places. So it isn't that difficult to, it's kind of, their perspective is beyond the normal perception. They see things that other people can't, or other beings can't, which means they're honed in on finding those that have harm in mind. Then we have the Tower. Yeah, it's it's like they're aha. It's an aha moment for these guys. Aha. That's what's wrong over here. This is where something just doesn't look right. Yeah. And as we can see, we have a man and we have a monkey in the mirror looking back at him. So yeah, it's their aha moment before these people ever go through the barrier. And then, if I can get the cards apart, we have the Devil. Yep, their power is taken from them, and they are taken someplace else. Seven of Strands or Seven of Wands. This is, once they're taken there, I think they're probably questioned a little bit more about what's going on, because we don't all know everything, and these beings don't always know why a person is behaving the way they are, why maybe they've dressed the way they have. There could be a reason, and they might just be not understanding what the world they're going into is actually like. So I think they're given the opportunity to explain. And then we have the Ace of Scoops or the Ace of Pentacles. Yeah, they treat them in a lot of different ways. There's not one single doctor per se that takes care of, I think there's a group of those too. Just like there's a group of the iRobots and there's a group of these beings that are the guidance or the protection to keep the bad out. So I think there's a number of doctors too. In fact, it could be very, very unlimited as to, depending on what these guys find, as to what kind of doctor they go to. It's pretty unlimited. All right, so let's pick these up and move on to question 4. There are 6 questions in this episode. And if you like what I'm doing here, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. Also, maybe share, because that grows the channel too. But I'd really also love to have you comment. If you see something in the cards, maybe you might be hollering at the screen going, no, don't you see? It's this. Can't you see that? I would love to hear it. I would. Not the screaming. But, if you see something that I didn't, please, by all means, share. Because I'm sure I'm interested, and I'm sure if other people are watching this too, they might be interested in your take as well. All right. So, question 4. What version of our world exists in the parallel layer? It's looking for like the darker twin, the distorted echo. Let's just go with it. What version of our world exists in the parallel? And we're going to say layers. Not layer, but layers. Because there's got to be more than just one of our alternate realities, certainly. The Truman Show. So, The Truman Show is one about where they watch his every move from the moment he's born. So we do have some of that here, allegedly. I think it's probably stronger in other alternate realities that are like Earth. Maybe stronger in those as to what you can and cannot do. I think it's also saying we need, if you plan to travel, you need to be aware of the rules of that particular reality. Okay. The Green Mile. Yeah, if you're not aware of the rules and you go into an alternate reality that seems to be like ours, and you do something just simple, maybe chew a piece of gum, and in that reality it is against the law to chew a piece of gum for whatever reason. The Green Mile, if you've ever seen it, that was death row. Those men were on death row, and Tom Hanks was one of the ones that kept an eye on those on death row. So yeah, it could be a not great version of our reality, but this can happen in any reality, right? And then we have Dances with Wolves. You might have some realities where Native Americans rule and the military is basically nothing. You might have realities that are Native Americans or many different races just living together as peacefully as can be. You might have animals that are much more intelligent than you would think. And if you remember from this movie, Dances with Wolves, he got to be friends with a wolf, but his horse was so intelligent. And if you don't remember, yeah, his horse was really intelligent. And here we have The Pursuit of Happiness again. I think what it's saying here is that when you are going to go into another reality, wherever it happens to be, and let's say you're not really sure about what that reality is like, maybe it's saying you need to do a little spy work first. Find out what their rules and regulations are, find out how they live together, because in general, if you're going to travel in that way, you're going to go to a different reality, you're going to go to the trouble of getting through the barrier and the people that defend that barrier, getting through the barrier and going to visit somewhere, you might as well have a happy time. Then we have Murder on the Orient Express, Signs, and I Heard It Through the Grapevine. Yeah, some of these places may not be places you really want to go. Or there might be certain places, now this murder took place on a train, but there might be certain places that you maybe shouldn't go. And there's probably signs, okay? Signs of a lot of these things. And also, if somebody else has been to the place that you would like to go, listen to what they have to say, but don't put all your eggs in that basket. You need to do your own research too, because the version of the parallel universe, or, it may change. Maybe that person has gone there 10 years prior, 20 years prior. That's what it was like back then. And you're going now. You really don't want to put all your eggs in that basket, because a lot of things can change. A lot of laws can change. A lot of battles that may have taken place may have completely changed the paradigm of the location. So you might want to look into things on your own and pay attention to signs. If you get there, pay attention to signs of your body, how your body reacts to certain things. In other words, if you get goosebumps or your hair stands on end, pay attention, because there might be a place that you probably shouldn't be. So let's see what tarot has to share. Okay. So we have the Eight of Scoops, or Eight of Pentacles. Yeah, patiently research before you go. This is a good idea. And it's reiterating that. Patiently research. The Empress with the Green Mile. Yeah, some of these places may have very creative ways of punishment. These are things you really need to know. I mean, oh my goodness. I believe this is Joyce in this card, which would be Will's mom. She looks pretty scary in that one. She's going to get her point across. She's going to deal out some pretty heavy punishment if she gets the opportunity. Knight of Scoops, Knight of Pentacles. Yeah, that's how they live. How these people live. This is very important. And together, how they live together is very important, and what their code of ethics is. You need to know these things. Ace of Strands or Ace of Wands. Yeah, the energy can be good or bad. It's unlimited. But if you want to go to a place that has a good energy, you need to make sure you go in with all the knowledge and the same kind of energy. Don't go in a bad mood. Don't go if your thoughts are not pure for the place you're going to. Don't go just for the purpose of proving a point. Queen of Strands or Queen of Wands. Not all the people in the places that you go are going to be caring. That's not going to be the energy in every place, for sure. So you need to be aware of the dangerous places. If that's where you plan to go in, you need to know. And then we have the Eight of Spokes, or the Eight of Cups. Yeah, if you're getting signs, like I said, the hair rising up on the back of your neck, walk away. Just walk away, go get back to the barrier, wherever it is, and go home. And you can always go someplace else at a later date. But, you need to pay attention to those signs. And then I heard it through the grapevine. We've got the Queen of Swords. Yeah, this person is certainly, the person you're hearing things through the grapevine is certainly telling you the truth. And they're telling you what they know because they care. They don't want you to get into any trouble or whatever, or have a bad experience. But again, good intentions aside, there could be hidden truths you don't know, because things may have changed since that person was back or had gone there. All right, so we're going to get these picked up and move on to question 5. As always, these readings, I never know what to expect. They're never what I think they're going to be. Let's put it that way. I never thought this would be about traveling to other realities, not from, the first question. I thought it was going to be something very scary and geez, don't get me wrong. I think this could be very scary if you don't follow what is being shared here. Because again, you don't know what another world's culture or alternate realities culture is like, even if it's exactly like Earth, or seems to be exactly like Earth. All right, so question 5. What has already crossed over without us realizing it? So they're talking about, say, people, ideas, technologies, memories, anything that doesn't seem like it belongs here. So this could be, what did somebody actually bring through, somehow get through the barrier? See what it says. So we have abandoned. Not sure what to do with that one yet. I'm going to grab another one. Something's rolling over in my mind, but good news. I think here that there are certain places that they don't go, or they don't allow anyone to go, just because they are so bad, so very bad. They don't want anybody coming from there. They don't want anybody going there. There are just some places that you have to abandon. It's just, they have to. And that's the good news, because they're very aware of these places. New direction. Yeah. So if there is a bad situation that takes place, I do believe they immediately abandon that world, that reality, that parallel dimension, whatever you'd like to call it. I think they immediately abandon it. And they will send people, they will send people off to another direction. Communication. the communication, the responsibility for being at the barrier, I think is unbelievable. And the guidance team, I think their communication is between one another is so admirable, because I don't think much gets past them. The communication, they have communication coming in from all over the place, so that they're always aware. And if something happens, they're ready for it. They're ready to close any opportunity to get through into a location or out of a location that could cause severe issues in another reality. So right now, I'm not getting that this has happened. Well, it probably has. They're not giving us details. They're just telling us what they do if one time it happens, I guess. And I didn't need to split again. Bird box. The birds. We've got all kinds of birds here, right? And charade. Okay, so again, the barrier is Birdman of Alcatraz. Bird box. Yeah, nobody goes in blind. Nobody goes in blind. It's not allowed. It may not have always been that clear cut. A lot of communication had to go on. A lot of, well, perhaps abandonments had to happen. The good news is that they figured out that communication was the way to go, and that nobody was going to be allowed to go in blind or come through blind. What happened in these locations, yes, probably a few of these locations, something horrifying did take place. And they don't pretend that it never happened. They just made sure, and that's the good news. They don't pretend that it happened or that it didn't happen. Instead, they did something about it. Instead, they put the guidance team on there to make sure that things were known before travel was allowed between dimensions. And I think with the communication card there in the center, worlds, alternate realities actually give them information to work with. They don't just accept that information blindly either. All right, so Tarot says, with the Nine of Scoops or the Nine of Pentacles, yeah, they abandon those worlds that do not offer something wonderful to visit. And I'm not saying that every world has to be perfect, but they keep everyone away from those worlds that seem more dark in this way. And then we have Judgment. The guidance people are the ones who make the decisions about where people can and cannot go. The good news is that's their calling. That's what they're supposed to be doing. It isn't just random people that say, oh, I want to do this. No, they're called to do this. Then we have the Ten of Swords with New Direction. That new direction is decided upon once they have exhausted all of their ideas. In other words, they get information from a lot of different places. They do research. These guidance teams do their own research and decide whether it is a good place for people to go or not. If not, it's abandoned and they choose a new direction. It's a process. Ace of Dice or Ace of Swords. Yeah, the communication that comes through. There's so much communication going on. And it never stops. So many different ways to communicate as well. The Four of Spokes or Four of Cups. Yeah. Nobody goes in blind. Nobody goes in with their back turned. What they go in with is knowing that they will be secure and safe when they go through that barrier. Because of the robots, and I'm going to say robot for iRobots, because of that, those guardians, and because of the light guardians. Then we have Temperance. And a location really has to be bad, I think, before they make the decision to abandon it. In other words, every location is going to have what's considered good and bad. Earth, for heaven's sakes, has a lot of bad things on it, but it has a lot of good things on it too. Just so that you're aware, and one of the questions did cover, making sure you know the rules. And who knows, maybe you have to go to the barrier and say, I would like to go here. So can you give me the information that you know about this location? And maybe they give you the rules that you have to abide by, how you have to dress, things like that. And then we have the Three of Strands or Three of Wands. Yeah, they don't pretend. They actually do something about it. The energy is of growth. They want to be able to continue doing this. But, to do that, they can't just turn a blind eye. They just can't. They have to deal with situations that come up. It is what they are called to do. Okay, so get these picked up and we'll move on to the very last question in this reading. And if you've been hearing, sometimes my Chihuahua will get to snoring so hard that I think it causes dry throat. So you heard him cough probably moments ago. He's okay. He just needed to swallow a few times after coughing. And okay. So question 6. What hidden connection do we share with the other worlds? Do they call to us? Are we already a part of them? What hidden connection do we share with the other worlds? Pushover. I don't know. Well, this card necessarily doesn't say that we are connected to the world. This is just saying we're tempted by these other worlds. Tempted with the idea of being able to visit and go to them to see what they're like. Some of us may be tempted. Ain't no mountain high enough. Yeah, for some, it's the temptation, it's the challenge. What we might run into, how much strength we need to have to be brave enough to visit. And there are some people that there's no mountain high enough. They wouldn't go no matter what. And let's see. The net. Yeah, I think what that's saying is there's many places that could be scary. We're tempted to go. We might be those who really enjoy a challenge, but we have the knowledge of realizing that some places can be dangerous in that maybe we will get lost there or not be able to return back. Turn, turn, turn. Yeah, it's something that would definitely take some personal reflection. Do you really want to go someplace else when, it could be exactly like Earth or seem to be exactly like Earth, but it could be as different as night and day. Now you see me. Vertigo. And don't look back. And going back to this, again, being as different as night and day, and possibly not being able to return. So here you've got now you see me, now you don't. Okay, so you were here, now you're not, you've gone someplace else, kind of down the rabbit hole, so to speak. You don't know what's at the bottom. You don't know what's on the other side if you haven't done your homework. But all the worlds, everybody on them, when it says, what hidden connection do we share with the other worlds? I think it's saying with the people. We all have these, or at least some of us are tempted to visit other places, right? And because we want the challenge, even though we know it could be dangerous, it could be, and that it could be absolutely so different to what we're accustomed to, even though it seems very much the same. The people could be very opposite. Maybe we wouldn't be able to come back. We might be completely lost once we get there. We might get very sick. Vertigo is a form of dizziness. We may get very sick being there. I think with Don't Look Back, this is literally, if you're called to do it, embrace the call. Other people do, but make sure that you pay attention to what it said in the other 5 questions about what to do and how to do it. So let's see what Tarot has to say. Like-minded people, for sure, in each and every world that are being called. High Priestess, yeah. There are those who are so tempted by the mystery of it all, by what could maybe be beyond the barrier. How many different worlds? How many different alternate realities? And then we have the 6 of Dice, or 6 of Swords. Yeah, this card says there be monsters. Here there be monsters. Some of the challenges, you just don't know. Even if you go with every intention of keeping all the things you've learned about the place in mind, there might be some things that have been missed. You never know. The Empress with the net. There could be a lot of different ways that it could be dangerous to go. A lot of different ways in many of these worlds. Obviously, the worst ones have been abandoned, as we saw. But maybe there's a world you want to go to that nobody's been yet. I think then you probably have to wait until the guardians and the guidance and get a chance to really dig in. So then we've got the 3 of dice or 3 of swords. Yeah, the location could be as different as night and day. So you need to know what you really want to do. And the 3 of swords isn't just a card of betrayal, it's also one of growth of the mind. What do you really want to do? Do you want to grow your mind by visiting these different places, or be patient and wait a while? All right. 6 of strands or 6 of wands. Yeah, the place could be a place that you get lost in, that you disappear into, not to be found, or it could be a place of extreme harmony. The energy could be absolutely wonderful for you. But you never know until you try. And then the world. Yeah, you may go on one trip and decide that's good enough for you. You don't need to see the world or the other worlds anymore. Maybe you had travel sickness. Think if you've ever seen the show Stargate, when it first started, they take you through the long tunnel. Kind of makes you woozy even watching it. Well, it might be the same thing. Maybe you have a difficult time with the travel. And then we have Knight of Strands or Knight of Wands. Do it. If you're called, do it. If you're called to travel and you're one of these people that just is that curious, that loves the adventure, do it. So I am going to ask here, I'm going to pull a card at random from the oracles. And I want to ask, how do you find the gate or the barrier? How do you find the barrier? If you're one of those who would like to travel to different worlds and it's telling us how to do that, might help to know where in the world the barrier is, right? So let us get things put away, and like I said, I'll do this randomly, just a card. And I think I'll choose this pile. No particular reason, just okay. So where can a person find the barrier if they wish to travel? 2 different worlds, 2 different dimensions, realities, etc. Let's see what we get. Trouble. Might have to pull another card. Not exactly sure what that is getting at. How does a person find? Maybe it's just saying it's a lot of trouble to find or difficult to find. Man on fire, it's very defended. Yeah, it's very difficult to find because it's very defended. This was going to be one card, but you know, it's got to do better than that, right? Okay. taking care of business. I think that's saying you really have to know who you are. It's almost as though it's on a frequency. You need to recognize who you are, recognize what you're worth. I don't think it's it's a place you go to, knock on the door and say, I'd like to go. Michael. Well, I'm going to say that if this is something that you really, really would like to do, travel between worlds and that kind of thing, I'm going to say you pray. Really get to know yourself, okay, which means do your shadow work. Make yourself as pure of a person as you possibly can, because angels are supposed to be quite pure also. Right now, perhaps, we're a little too troubled, some of us, to be able to do this, to be able to travel in this way. Because remember, they've got the demolition man, the good and the bad. We might be kind of in between, and there's still some things that they're not sure. If they tell us that you can't do this in this world, will we do it just because we want to be rebellious? You know what I mean? So I think we really have to become as pure as we possibly can to get through their defense line. So they're not going to tell us how to get there. Perhaps once we do the work like this, working with our shadow self and clearing out and releasing all the things that we don't need anymore, that makes us more pure in our thinking and more and our acting, maybe they come to us and say, hey, would you like to do this? All right, so that is it for episode 2 of the Stranger Things Inspired series. I'm going to give you the teaser for episode 3 for next week. Next time, we shift our focus from parallel worlds to the strange powers some people may already be using. Telekinesis, psychokinesis. What if these abilities aren't fiction, but fragments of truth we tried to forget? In episode 3, we're asking, is something unlocking within the human mind, and are we being watched because of it? So there you have the teaser for episode 3. And on the screen, you also see the show schedule, which shows the 3 shows that I do each week. There's that shows. The 3 that I do each week and the times that they're on. And with all that said, thank you so much for being with me here today for this reading. I won't see you till next week, so make sure that you have a fantastic week. Until then, take care.